And they gave money.
All right, there we go. Now we're live.
Yeah.
They just told them they get a credit, $6,000.
And just as a formality, obviously we've gone through the same agenda, and there's no one from the public here right now, so we'll continue on. I missed that story. But go ahead, David. What you got?
Let's go down and look at EMS's capital projects. See what they got this year. It's on down, it's under health and welfare. Just keep going a little while. It's on there. Okay, it's on right below there. So he has. There you go. That's what he's requested next year, 400. That was a 400 quote.
EMS.
That's what it is. He's requested power cots for $400,000. $110,000 for going down, Amanda. For I think 110,000 is to the vehicles, just regular vehicles. And then the 650 is your ambulances.
And I'm telling you, those power cots will save that on one workers' comp claim.
What is a power guy?
Instead of them having to lift you, a 400-pound man in
It
the
does it
ambulance,
itself.
it does
Oh.
it itself.
He did say that if we needed to, we could cut the power cots in half, and he'd buy half this year and half next year. So it would save us a little bit on capital.
Did he mention those?
Is what he has budgeted is one for every ambulance?
I doubt that, because I think they're about $30,000.
Yeah, I think he's just
Okay.
trying to slowly buy them and replace
Okay.
stuff. And then the ambulance is just to buy. I'm assuming he's trying to keep the fleet going. So that's one that we don't have to do it, but if we don't, at some point we'll end up having to buy 2 or 3.
And it takes a year to build those.
So anything other than cutting the cots in half, David?
So we cut the cots in half, or
I mean, if we
If he
can
said
save
he
it, we
can do
save it.
half and
Huh?
half. If he said he can do half and half,
Yeah, then I mean, it's every little bit.
really, let's look at one more item.
How many ambulances is that?
I think it's just one ambulance. Or no, it might be 2. I take that.
I
650, I think is 2, isn't it?
God, I hope.
surely it's
Six
two.
fifty too.
Because I remember when we bought those two.
I
couple
believe
years
it's
ago,
about 30,
remember?
honestly, but I can't swear.
oh, that I don't know. I don't have
I
any
can
idea
check
what
with
name
them.
y'all
I mean, I know
call.
that,
We like Ken's and
They
Cherry.
have a rotation cycle.
Well, we
Y'all go
bought
ahead, it's Judge Carter.
two.
Get this-
Remember we bought two,
how are you doing, good sir?
what, 4 years ago? Were you elected or was it right before y'all were elected when we bought those? I think it was right before.
It's very
It's the
common.
very first.
Yes, because some people used it in their campaign
It's right
stuff.
in
I know we bought,
the
remember he brought them out here for us to look at?
Oh, yeah. That went down on 2 years ago.
Well, they weren't, yeah, it was right around,
You're saying they bought new ambulance?
A
mhm.
few.
I think we bought two, wasn't it, Leah?
Yeah,
I was not.
In fiscal year 19, that he paid $175,000 for 2 and $155,000 for 1.
And what was that cost in there?
650.
Well, that's a lot. 2, 4, 6, if it went up to 200,000, that's
yeah,
three.
that's probably.
It's 3 in the equipment.
3, we figured it out,
Then
3.
equipment.
Because they buy cots and.
Right, because you gotta outfit it and everything.
And see, and sometimes they can switch out the lights and stuff, but
Who's that talking to?
The next item on the capital projects is right here, Chris. We
Yes,
just
sir.
discussed. There's $400,000 in here for water lines. Where that came from is Commissioner Mo Taylor and Mr. Graves made a reoccurring request for that every year. I don't know if you want to leave that in or not, but I think you guys can discuss it.
Let's go ahead and take it out, and here's why. There's a committee that's gonna decide that, and according to Ms. Art, the current grant is open. They just bid it in December, they haven't spent the money yet, and we can't get another grant until that's all spent up, so there's nothing they can do this calendar, or this coming fiscal year.
So it'd be
Is everybody okay with that?
And your committee is meeting next month?
July,
July,
yes.
okay.
Okay.
After
Go,
this
go over
budget.
to the capital project summary, Amanda, let's see how much the local capital is like now. You got. So about two, keep going down to the top. You started out at 2.9 and you're down at 2.3.
Okay.
You want to be somewhere above 2 to closer to 2.9.
There we go, there's nice.
I don't think there's a whole lot left in there. Is there any departments left, Beth, that I
Two
don't
things
think
where
about?
you want and just one thing of credit.
EMS, sheriff.
Except for ambulance.
Oh, yes, that's one I did want to discuss. Go up to the, capital projects back to the appropriations. There's an archives roof in here for $400,000. Mr. Holt's not here, but I want to.
You do it, new folder. We do it, but that's not good. I'll show you that.
That $400,000 there's for an archive roof they do need, but we have about 230, I believe, some thousand extra dollars in the 2015 bond. I would like to fund the first $230 some thousand dollars from the 2015 bond to clear it out, and we'll make it work well. And Beth will probably need to help you make that.
Everybody
change.
comfortable with that?
Beth can go help make that change. We'll have to come out of that sub-fund. That'll kick you up another 200 and whatever the balance is of that sub-fund, Betsy, look on the summer's age. Yeah, I'll get you to about 2.5 million.
All right.
Where is it?
Archives.
If you guys want to fund the archives roof, I don't know, it hasn't been, there was an estimate, I don't know if it's been through general office or where all.
Well, let's just do this, why don't we put the 230 in there that's from the old bond, which clears that bond out, we're done with the bond, and then if they need additional money when they get it bidded, we'll address it then.
Sounds good.
Take the other matter before the house.
Yeah, take the other, so then be taking the whole 400,000 out.
Make it zero there. and if you
You're a
have
good
more-
man. Take the rest of that.
I'll talk to Dennis about that.
Everybody's shutting down early
Yeah,
today in the entire city.
You should be able to, if not just the.
Oh, is everybody, I thought everybody was good about that.
No, I don't
I
think.
feel like Gallatin or Hendersonville's a high protest. Or a dangerous protest.
All right, you got any more for capital you want to talk about?
Let's go ahead and Beth gets
I
done.
guess I should check my emails.
All right, on sign up, talk to Judge Carter.
I know.
I know he doesn't care, does he? It's great. Judge Carter was very comfortable, I mean, you're good, Bob. He was very comfortable with, he's reduced his non-salary to actually below what he had last year to help us out. The other additional in his budget is for the salary. It was the employee hired last year that he let budget know about then. We've talked about it since then. If everybody's comfortable with that, we'll move on. That was one of the exceptions, and he doesn't need to come see us now, so we're good.
We'll go back to capital, and then we'll talk about the rest of your Holt's
Yeah.
projects. Well, they listed those. It was right under the $400,000 for the archives.
What's wrong?
You need to go back up and see what, we can't even get how slow this is. Keep going down. What's the 180 there? Let's make sure.
They sold the, or that 4 million that's left.
Okay, they put that last year. And there was like, I think it was right under the 400, it was like, right there, there's that 15 is for,
That's carried over.
okay, go on down, 25. Let's see, that's the 25,000, that's what it says on it. That one right there, it's a utility vehicle for the Greenway, Bledsoe Lake Park. Keeping it regional west. So they're asking for a utility vehicle for the parks and the Greenway.
What's it for?
Utility vehicle for the Greenway and the Bledsoe Lick Park.
Is that like pass-through? 'Cause it's not pass-through.
Is that to buy like a side by side?
That's what I was
No, it's
thinking.
like a gate or something.
Yeah, side by side.
Mr. Hope, we can mark those in red when Mr. Hope is back in there.
Why don't we just take that one out, and then and if Anthony has an issue, he'll bring it back up with us tomorrow. How about that?
Let's make sure to tell him, Make a note over there.
But I can make the note.
We'll make a note.
I have some sticky notes, if you.
Then the other ones will be the archive roof. They decided to remove the rest of that, so make that, what is that, the archive roof?
Yes.
Make that zero, because they're only gonna fund the more bond portion. And then,
What's that airport?
the Gallatin
When I get
Airport,
there,
was approved in last year's budget, and it's a carryover because they never.
Yeah. That was the one we did like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Should we not get the roof, were we trying to pass this month, we're gonna do this month? Budget?
Yes.
Do the 29.
Well, the money's there, the 230,000 is for the roof, and if the bid comes in higher than that, we'll just have to appropriate more for it later.
Surely, goodness, they won't call it.
Well, do you remember how much the bid for this roof cost when it was
That's a
originally
much
done?
smaller building.
But it's also built like this one. It's a design,
There's a
same
good
design.
chance you're gonna be.
Is it the exact same design? Because that's gonna be an issue, because that's why this one, which is why we chose to just patch it, because
But I
it
don't
was
know if
that
has
proprietary.
It looks the same, but I don't know if it has that.
I don't think it's nearly the same because
No.
part of it is flat.
Yeah, the front.
Yeah, because it's got the front part that's just a facade.
Yeah, the builder that built that told me that when it came up a while back, that one's designed to have a second floor if you want to get
Yeah,
onto it.
yeah.
Well, if they need more than 230, they can come back
That
and
would
work.
work good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an easy one. We got anything else on that one?
Oh, so it's just a fake sheet, okay, gotcha.
We got anything else on the Capital?
No,
All right.
we can go back to the summary
Well, if
sheet.
it's a fake
All
sheet,
right.
there ain't no way it's
Amanda,
listed for
Judge Carter's
$150,000.
doing it. So,
Talk about the
Thanks,
rest of
man.
it.
I think it's
okay, what else
the
we got?
facade
Should be county building
and
and
flat.
That's what Bethany just said, it's fake.
County buildings, $396. Last year, he mentioned the budget committee did an interbudgetary transfer, took it out of part-time, moved it to its maintenance, janitorial, it wasn't actually its maintenance. Where it's cleaning people, because they were paid so low with some of the money, it required extra benefits, he removed enough for like 11 months. This is the difference for 1 month. New material, I don't.
We'll just pay for that.
What about?
The next line is 15,977, that is to have the audit done on the county. It is statutory, it's based on, I think it was 2017 at a 3% increase per year based on each census, so it's went up to 3% a year, and this year it's gonna go up because of the census. We're estimating a population of 199, which is the same we use for salary, it could be more or less. We can look at the county commission's budget and see if you wanna find some of the funds, or we can leave it where it's at, but it will need the audit money.
Let's just add the audit money.
Yeah.
Why don't we add the county commission, because we voted it down 2 times a year with no pay increase, why don't we have the county commission in comparable counties be a part of the pay study?
That's a great idea, Paul. And that's an easy way to do it without people getting beat up for it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
I'll make another. Part of the pay study.
What's the first line in the county commission detail budget? There's the county commissioner's salary that's in there,
The main
144, but the other salaries and wages.
For the ones it takes minutes for the committee.
It's for Maria.
They're not paid out of the regular budget, they're
Got
paid
it.
out of, like the ones that does budget meetings, Maria, all those are paid out of that line.
For every committee?
Every committee's paid out of that line.
Got it.
This
Okay.
is the budgets of the individual departments. Archives has a $211 non-salary increase, so if you want to get back to last year, we can go there and look at the history.
I mean,
$211.
that's kind of my thought.
Okay.
They came in pretty close to zero. Is anybody okay with $211? Yeah, rather than spend.
I'm not looking to
Okay.
ruffle feathers over $211.
We're good, buddy.
Okay, we're just trying to get them all to last year. The next one's left as judge, and I think we just discussed him.
Yeah, Judge
He's
Carter's
fine.
good.
Courthouse and jail maintenance fund, we do need to talk about it.
Okay.
It cannot, it is actually not on this because it will be in your packet. And I'll tell you what page to look at, because it cannot have a statutory deficit, so we've got to alleviate it one way or the other.
How bad is it?
If you look on page 54, it's $146,551. So we really, on this one, have one of two choices. One, we're gonna have to cut the expense out of here, but we can put the expense in the general fund, or there's gonna be a huge decrease in the amount of maintenance spent on the building next year. This fund's slowly been whittling down on its reserves. It could come in better than this, but we don't really know.
What, is this the sales tax one, isn't it?
This is the one where we put in, there's like a litigation tax, and then the.
Oh, that's right, because of course, but, yeah, that one might make up. Well, I guess for right now, we need to get it even, and then hopefully revenue will come in and we can replace it.
We could pull it down for now and then amend it later in the year, or we can take the difference from the general fund. We may, there's several POs out, but we don't know how much of this will be spent the rest of the year. We could come in, if you look at historically, it's been losing about 30,000 a year. This year, we're showing it's losing 190,000.
See, it's still reeling from the court rulings that you couldn't put people in jail for not paying their fines.
And then they've been shut down too. So both of those really hurt court fees everywhere.
What do we use it to pay for that, though? what does that pay for? I'm trying to remember.
Maintenance of the building, HVAC maintenance contracts,
What do y'all think?
construction material to fix stuff around the buildings.
Why don't you see how the general fund make it equal?
Yeah.
So we take 146,551 out of this one, so let's decrease line, we're on 112, okay, we gotta find a line to decrease, so, let's just make general construction material 0. So we'll need another 56,551, and then,
Hey, David, how big of a deal would it be to, I think sometimes that fund is misleading because of its name, because it is courthouse and jail maintenance, but it actually funds all the county buildings. Is there a way without it flagging something or being difficult that we can change the name of that, just so that it's not so misleading? Because people always think it just is those two buildings, and it's really not.
set by the state.
It is,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
state
under
name.
state chart of
And
accounts,
in
courthouse
fact,
and
most
jail.
of those funds say it drops into courthouse and jail maintenance.
It has to be used for courthouse and jail maintenance first, and then with county commission's approval, which you do with the budget, can be used for the other buildings. So you have to do the courthouse and jail first out of those fees, on the fee section. But that's actually statutory, the state approves the state chart of account and
So we'd have to, by state audit, we have to call it that and then edit
it's called that.
money out
Well,
of it
and I
for
think
something.
in the past, none of that was line itemed, but then now you guys dictate exactly where
Yeah.
it goes and what
It should have-
building.
It should have always been line item, but prior to 2010, they did line item.
Right.
It's been line item for quite, about
Yeah.
10 years now. They used to kind of,
It's been 10 years.
chunk as much stuff as you could on line item.
And there
Just
should be-
FYI, get through that, Dave's been here about 10 years.
Yeah, and so we started dividing it out, and we got a lot
Well,
of.
and I remember we sat and did a lot of that. Caroline and I did.
Oh, no, there's a lot more details. Oh, for the
That's what I'm
location.
talking about.
Oh, there's a lot more details than you see here. We could
Yeah.
take the
Oh.
Munis system and show you what buildings
Right.
all this go into.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
That's when the revolt about entering data got into.
Yeah, well, before that, we didn't, they had everything together, we divided them into these lines here, and then about 4 years later, we tried to divide them by location, everybody went crazy, and then we went down the road, you guys were trying to work on the courthouse and jail, and you didn't have the data, so you guys, so I'm like, I was kinda stuck in the middle, we did it, they was revolting on me, so you
There
guys.
should be a bounce back for that some this year, shouldn't they? Once, now the courts get back in session.
Well, we're showing you've only got
Catch up.
46,000 on the ending, but there's several monthly POs still open. How many things out there that's still open with monthly POs? Does that make that?
So really, we need to make it even then. Just in case there's money coming out, or getting ready to be taken out.
Maybe. So I'm saying, if we pull that 90 out and another, make this one to where it's 0, then you can decide how much to put back into the, general fund, because you're not gonna take it out of the general fund ultimately.
Everybody okay with that then?
So if we take that down to 0, and then go up to, what is this there? We need something like another 56,551, take it out of maintenance agreements. We just gotta remember to take out of each one, it's 90, general construction, and 56,551 out of what kind of maintenance? Explain maintenance. And then go over to the general fund appropriations, and go under county buildings, and we'll add it back over there. It's gonna make the general fund worse, but if we don't maintain the buildings, we're gonna have other issues. It should be on down the main, there should be a line item for courthouse. There you go. You see the one that says general construction?
I canceled mine. I don't think all of them.
All the ones for this, that was this week was canceled.
More to that.
No, I don't think there's anything.
56,551.
The original
And then go
commission
back
had the
to
third
infrastructure,
Monday, there's
general maintenance.
education and budget. I think everything else might have been.
The school starting to meet again, school board, Leah, do you know?
Yeah.
And then go over to courthouse and jail.
That's what they meant this
Now, it
past
should be
month.
0 down the Summer
They met
Street.
Zoom.
I think they're back alive, yeah.
Yeah, can you
Where
read
they
that
meet
red
the
that way?
second Tuesday or third?
The red is bouncing, it didn't take it.
All over this, man.
46.
It must be first.
All right,
Zero's good.
We good on capital
How
now?
often can you get a ending balance of 0?
Well, when you have to sit here and move it to another fund. And probably will
We
be
do have
better than that
legislation next
46, so
week.
this is probably
No,
1 year.
it's not been
Hopefully things will get somewhat better. If you wanna go through the other funds while we're waiting. for
Yeah, we
this
might as
action.
well, because we're just waiting for Annette now, because Anthony said she was coming at 1:30, so.
Page 57 through 60, I'm sorry, 57 through 59 is the drug control fund. These are fees and fines used for drug control. This balance is statutorily balanced. It's presented by the sheriff, to the county exec, and then ultimately to you guys, and it's in good shape. The next one's your debt service fund. We are projecting next year to use about $2.2 million worth of debt service. That's because we do have reserves for this reason. We're in the rainy day. The 2.2 is inclusive of the 2021 bond estimates. So this actually, we have the estimated amortization included for your 2021 bond in here for the courthouse and the rest of the schools. Because if you look back on page, and I'll show you. Probably do need to do
And then whatever, Julie,
that. Julian Graham.
yeah, lets us know that it's time to bid them out, we'll do it.
I think early to mid-July is what we're planning to do right now. We're going to be working with the bond rating agency. But if you look on page 76, and these are probably high estimates, but these are the estimates, the best estimates we have right now for the 2021 bond. These actual payments do come, are included in the budget this year to be paid, so it's kind of shows where we're at. If you kind of look toward the bottom, you can see your debt payments, 34 million, 34 million, 34 million, 28, 18. So even if we had the next year's and things didn't improve, you would need about 2.2 those 3 years out of your, almost $20 million. Then next year you would be positive again, and if you weighted off down to that year, you would show a huge improvement. So the short of it is, if all things are worse, you would have to wait on the middle school for a year or two if the economy didn't improve long term. But overall, it's pretty strong year debt service funding.
So basically what we're talking about, when it goes from 21 and then it jumps down to 11.4, and that's just because we'll have some stuff rolling off.
You get a lot of debt rolling off on that, well, 34 million, 34 million, 34, 28, 18. So right now, we're showing using out of your, about $19 million worth of fund balance next year, using about $2.2 million. And that's because this year's gonna be bad. We anticipate it's gonna improve over the next couple of years. Even if it didn't improve, you'd be fine to go through the next 3 years, and it would make the decision on what to do for your next issue.
But just so we're kind of all on the same long-term plan, 2025, the end of 2025 is when we'd say to start doing the middle school.
Which would postpone it about 6 months, is the worst case scenario if we had.
The end of 2025.
But if we had a recession going that long, it's hard.
Yeah.
We've really got more
There's
problems.
yeah.
We're just saying we feel good about the debt, is what the gist
Yeah.
of this is.
Because what we're doing on the debt service, since it drops quite a bit, and it opens up our capacity to give out a lot without it being a big hit, without having to increase the money we already have allocated to it. So when people start, long and short, when people start saying you have to have raised taxes for middle school, they know, as long as you wait till about 2025.
And as the economy improves earlier.
Might be sooner.
Honestly, it looks like we're pretty much still in the same original. Dale had certain estimates, and he's been slowed down construction at this point, so we think he's probably pretty close with us, even if it did continue. The next one, we got the capital projects fund. You've went through most of the capital, some of the carryovers you haven't. It starts on page 63 to 70, but if anybody has any questions. It originally showed a ending fund balance at the local of about 1.5 million, I think, right now. If you can click on capital summary, on that, it'll tell you where right now. It's showing you've got an estimated fund balance now of about 3.7, so you've improved it quite considerably today. Took out the lot line and the other. We'll go back and check it for accuracy. The next one is, and Miss Judy's not coming because she did request less than last year, is the Highway Public Works Fund. It is statutorily balanced. TDOT's worst case scenario was 25% off of your gas tax. That's what Miss Judy's ran with, so her budget is very, very tight and very much truncated down right now. But it is statutorily balanced. And that's all your funding.
Yeah. We're letting people stand or whatever present.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, let her sit.
Yeah.
I'm good, hey. God's good. He got me up all week.
Pass the drug test.
I don't know if I would.
That's what I heard.
Probably not. No, I got off that oxy quick, that stuff's quick.
Pretty good, though.
I was terrified, I was like, you're gonna get addicted. I was like, I had 4. Whatever.
Lori, the floor is yours, go right ahead.
Okay, what Annette's gonna pass out, as you know, we've been dealing with this COVID-19 stuff, and every day it changes, every single day. So the legislature reconvened yesterday. From everything we've heard, from the lobbyists all the way up to the legislature floors, they are not going to do absentee for any reason. Now, having said that, there is a lawsuit. She is supposed to rule on Thursday. They combined 2 lawsuits that were, one was absentee for any reason. They wanted to do away with photo ID, and they wanted to do away with the comparison of signatures. Now, the comparison of the signature is critical, because when we get an application,
Thank you.
we compare that signature to the signature we have on file. We mail out the ballot. When the ballot comes back, they sign the outside of the ballot flap. We again compare those signatures. Losing the signature is critical. I mean, if you want to talk about fraud, you could get, 3,000 of them if we don't compare the signatures. The other thing was, right now you have to present yourself at least one time in person before you vote, absentee. They want to do away with that, which again means we don't know who's up voting. Everything that we've seen from the legislature, they're going to do nothing. They're also not going to do anything in terms of nursing homes. We had hoped they would do nursing homes absentee by mail. They are not even going to take that up. The nursing homes are telling us we can't come in, so we're not sure.
Last year, before you've always gone to those,
By law, we have to. If they're a licensed facility in the state of Tennessee, we have to go vote there. But the nursing homes are saying that they're not going to let us in. The problem with that is, it is a mechanism of their state license to allow us in. Now, are we going to have smackdown with the nursing homes? I mean, I have no authority. It's the state. It would be the Department of Health. They say they're not going to take it up. So we're going to reach out to the nursing homes, tell them we'll, follow all COVID procedures, so forth and so on. We're not exactly sure what's going to happen. They've given us the ability to deputize 2 people in the nursing home. Of course, one would need to be a Republican, one would be a Democrat, and then we're going to ask them on top of everything else they're doing amid this COVID to vote our voters. And a couple of facilities have already told us they're not going to do that. So we're not
How
sure.
could they not do it? Wouldn't Trey Hargett have the authority to tell them that?
He and Mark have been on multiple calls, and they're saying they're private facilities, so that they don't have to, but they're.
But they're licensed by the state.
Their license says that they do. So again, who's gonna have to smack down? I don't know, I don't have any authority, but we're gonna make our services available, we're gonna be there, we're gonna ask for the list, we're gonna do everything, but that's still kind of up in the air. So if you're asked that, people get mad at us, it's not me, it's not our decision. So having said all of that, it does not appear at this point, unless something changes on Thursday, that we're gonna do absentee. Now, what Annette handed out to you is, we have eligible 37,000 plus people in Sumner County that could vote absentee by the reasons that already exist. Across the state of Tennessee, only about 2.5% of people eligible to vote absentee actually vote absentee. The state sent a letter out either yesterday or today that's going to encourage all those people that were above, that qualified above 60 or above, disability, ill, all these different things, they already qualify. The one thing they said did not qualify is fear of COVID. That is not actually a sickness, an illness, a disease. It is not, does not qualify. So that's another element of the lawsuit they think that they'll try to introduce, saying if you're just afraid you're gonna get it. So we already know from the CARE stimulus money, and it's on page 2, that they're gonna give us 50 cents a voter for August and $1 for November. We're basing it on our population today, voting population of 116,000. So that's $174,000 we know we're getting. Now the county's gonna have to front that, and then we'll get it back, of course, like everything. Annette and I have.
Hey, one question.
Yes, sir.
So that's based on registered voters?
Yes.
So,
People who are eligible to vote, so it's registered, they could be active and inactive voters.
So-
Because if they show up to vote, then they become active.
just curious, so based on the total number of voters, but let's say it's a typical August and it's COVID August, so let's say there's 2% turnout.
It
We have
doesn't
to pay that
matter.
money back?
We get the money. We get the money for registered voters. Doesn't matter who turns out, we get the money. Period. So we've done a detailed analysis for you guys, and I won't bore you with it. We took August numbers, and the state told us to estimate if every person who could vote absentee will. And we know that's not gonna happen. But we gave the worst case scenarios that you all, we would come back and say, oh, by the way, you know, so you've got the worst case scenario. Things that we're gonna have to purchase that we didn't, obviously, gloves, masks, sanitizer, plastic face shields, masks. We bought some of the tripod plexi that's in all offices you see now that are portable, that can actually move. We're gonna have a lot of additional people, door monitors. Now, we're not allowed to scan the voters like they're doing right out here. But we are gonna
Lori,
have.
is that on top of the 150, whatever we just did a little bit ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm just giving you all the breakdown
Okay,
of what
okay,
our
gotcha.
costs are gonna be, and then that's what we know we're getting.
Okay,
Now,
gotcha.
that's not to say that's all we're gonna get.
Well, the August numbers were the poll workers from that last chunk.
Okay.
And it's gotta be over here, because we don't pay them until after July.
No, I follow this.
But, we know the 174 is good, but there may be more CARES money there. There may be other money there, but this is what we know today. So we did a breakdown. we're gonna have to have a door monitor. There's gonna be a sign there with the questions, just like they're asking out front. But if they have a fever and they don't tell us, we're not allowed to check their fever. We cannot deny voter access to their polling location. However, if they say, yes, I've had COVID, I've been diagnosed with COVID, I've been around someone that has COVID, I've been out of the country, any of that, then we are not gonna allow them into the precinct. We're gonna have an alternative voting location. We'll send them somewhere else. They will not go into the precinct. And then Trey and Mark Owens have said that's okay. But what that creates is we have to have another polling location in addition to all of our precincts. Now, 10 days before Election Day, if we still see this thing's going strong, the Sumner County Election Commission has the authority to declare an emergency, and we can go from our 28 precincts to 4 super centers. Now, these are not mega centers. Mega centers is like what you would consider a convenient vote center. These would be super centers, and so all voters in Sumner County would vote in these 4 super centers. We don't know what's gonna look like.
Jesus, it'd be a disaster.
Oh, it would.
We already have a plan though, and
We
there's
have a
big
plan.
gyms.
I have 7 plans.
It'll be very organized if it's.
It's horrible, but, and the other thing y'all have to remember
Yeah.
is if it's a county facility, we can go in it, a school, so forth. About half of our precincts are churches. So if they decide to tell us no, a lot of churches still aren't open. Mine just opened Sunday. A lot of churches you have to register to go, so we don't know what that's gonna look like.
Always have good parking, right?
So, we're only gonna have one early voting site for August, which is not gonna make anybody happy. But, Freedom Church still isn't open, and Church of Christ in Hendersonville isn't open, as far as we know, and it's been
Really?
reaching it.
Yeah.
Those are our 2 best locations, and they're not gonna be available for August.
Where will the location be?
It'll be at the Sumner County Board of Education building gymnasium, not the old one, the new one. And that's kind of tricky to get to.
Mhm.
It's not the best location. We talked to Dale and, you know, it's the only thing large enough to accommodate everybody. And people are not gonna be happy. I'm just gonna tell you now, I'm not happy, but we just don't have another venue.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah. Unless we get the Comer barn done.
I was gonna say, it'd be a good time to have that thing done. Good luck.
Be a great location.
I mean, it'd be perfect, but, you know, it is what it is today. So,
If you have it there now, you won't get a big turnout.
I'm
It's not scary.
no kidding. So the fact that we're only gonna have one location, COVID, and the letter that's gonna come from the state in addition to us, we think we're gonna see a big increase. There's been nothing like this in the history of voting, so we don't know what that increase is gonna be. Is it gonna go from 2.5 to 5, 2.5 to 10? 50% of the people, we just simply don't know. But we're gonna be prepared for it no matter what. So at this point, in summary, we broke everything down. We're looking right now with no further funds, with everything we've anticipated, everything we have to buy, all the additional staff. We're looking at Sumner County being down about an additional $85,000.
And that's on top of the 150 we already did, right?
No, that's everything.
That was 92.
That was
Okay, yeah,
92.
oh, thank you,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is both elections.
So,
Is that,
now,
I was lost. Is that in that 92 or not? Addition?
the total over would be 85, in addition to the 174 that we're not gonna get yet. So you're gonna have to front the whole 260 until we can file and get it back.
Is any of the numbers in what you presented up here, Cory? In the budget draft that you got?
No, we didn't have it then,
So nothing, so the numbers
Is this
wasn't
just
here,
the
don't
office
even
election or
include
is
this.
this both?
no. And then,
Here, help me out, this is the part I'm losing. There was 150 we did just recently.
right,
Last month.
Yeah. What?
92.
Yeah.
We
well,
did, we added 92, we transferred
and we
50
yes.
from
So it was
another.
like 140
Right.
something.
right,
That
That's
was
not,
for the August election.
right, and right now, we're at 96,100 for the August election.
okay.
So, we can still, but actually, I think that was approved out of this year's budget, and we don't have any money in
And the
this year's
county,
budget.
all the extra poll workers was also in that 92,000. We didn't really catch that until afterwards, so there's a bucket full of money that we will not be using because the poll workers will not be employed until after July 1.
Well, I guess that's what I was gonna ask is, if we're out 84,000, I mean, I know we got to front that 170, is that not include, will that 92 we just gave you not cover that part?
Sure.
Okay.
It's just, it's one big bucket,
Yeah.
however you
Well, I'm
guys
just
split it
trying
up. We're not asking for more, this is the total.
Thank you, there we go.
But it's not.
And this is both elections, not just the August.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right,
So we're
That's-
actually doing a little better than what we
we
thought.
are. Now,
You knew it was coming, Chris.
Yeah.
if on the 4th, the judge rules and says, we're gonna mail out any absentee for any reason,
Oh, then it's really expensive.
Then we gotta cover
Yeah.
that.
we're in a whole other ballgame.
Okay.
Now, in Georgia, which I don't agree with what they did, but I don't live in Georgia nor do I work there, they mailed absentee applications to every single registered voter. They didn't even make them ask. So there was probably 50% of the people that had no intention of requesting an absentee ballot. Tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds maybe, that went out. I don't see us doing that. But if they go absentee for any reason, you know, we've got another analysis. I think I sent it somebody. Anyway, it can be over $600,000.
Yeah, that-
You
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
maybe Lee or Ann, I can't remember.
So Lori, this is maybe a legit, I don't know if it's budget question or not, but, so the ruling Thursday is going to either be ruled that you must maybe mail every registered voter an absentee ballot?
No,
or
that'll
you
be up,
notify them?
that'll be up to the state. But what it says is anybody can vote absentee for any reason.
But you said that would be 10 days before the election, I thought.
No, that would be to declare an emergency to consolidate the
Sorry.
precincts. If we lose the churches that aren't county property,
Okay.
we can do that.
So using Georgia, they mail to everybody. How does Tennessee, how do you, if it's going to be by absentee, how do you notify them to say, do you want a ballot?
We don't. I mean, it would be press releases, it'd be on our website, and then they'd have to call in, they have to give us their name, address where they want their ballot made, residential address where they vote, date of birth, and social security number.
So,
And then we would send them an application,
would
mail
it
the
be,
application back, then we send them a ballot, and then mail the ballot back. What Georgia did was bypass the whole, they have to request it. They just sent everybody one.
How many registered voters do we have
About
right now?
116,000.
so do y'all think if it goes that route, that you'll actually have a bigger participation?
Then we'll have what?
More people request them and fill them out?
Absolutely. We're prepared for 40,000 right now for August. We're prepared.
Because they're mailing out this week,
The state
anybody
is.
that's over 60, we have 37,000 people that are
That meet all
gonna get
the
letters
requirements.
in Sumner
No,
County
that are
saying,
just over
hey, you
60,
want
that doesn't
absentee
count on the
ballot? Call
other
this number.
And what we call doctor certified, if the doctor signs a letter saying you can't get to the polls, they can give an absentee ballot. Doesn't matter if you're 20. I'm not 20, but anyway, you know, if you're disabled, if you're ill, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it'll be more than 40 that they told us to prepare.
That will be 60.
60 or over. It used
What
to
about
be 65
asthmatic?
and lower.
If they're asthmatic, people, they.
Rather than
Is
That is an illness.
There'll be a whole bunch of them. There'll be asthmatic
Put it in.
and
Any
heart
heart
disease,
disease,
heart disease,
all of
respiratory,
that.
anything.
potentially could be.
So anybody that's got high risk,
You got 116.
Anybody's with high risk heart disease, Floyd just finished cancer treatments, he's got radiation chemo, you know, even though he's not sick, I
When
mean,
you talk about
you know,
hours to do.
lower immune
Imagine how
system.
many people will pay overtime.
And this is just an unknown, and I was just trying to give you all the worst case
No, no.
scenario.
So they're gonna sign out on it.
And
They're gonna put it on.
like I said, I think there may be more money. If this thing winds down,
It's like a
it'll be okay. If it winds back up, you know, they're predicting the second wave. You know, if it gears back up, it could be different, so.
You mentioned
You
one
go by-
location for August.
yeah.
One location for August, that's,
Early voting would be
early
the
voting.
Board of Education
Board of
up there off, well, it's in, you know, where it splits and the hospital's there.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, everybody will, by the current.
we're gonna try to bring everybody in from Hartsville Pike, rather than taking them through that residential neighborhood, it's a 2-lane road back through there, so we're gonna try to bring everybody the other way.
And I'm assuming we would bring all signage from all of our votings, you know, even, could you put something on that corner, even if they did have to come in that way?
Absolutely.
Okay, just
That'll be
because it is a
exciting.
little bit of a nightmare trying to find it if you've never been.
You've got a different place, I'm ready.
God.
Because for those of you all that have been to the Board of Education, if you come in off the residential side,
Mhm.
it's a split entrance, and you go in this
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
Board of Education is that
And there's
way.
always somebody that
Yeah.
brings that up.
Oh, yeah.
I did it
away
the first
game,
time, I
yeah.
was meeting
Oh, yeah.
Everett. And then you got to where we're voting, you gotta go all the way around to the back, and
Uh-huh.
there's 2 gymnasiums, so that's gonna be a disaster.
And the whole compound is at 695 East Main Street.
Not the
So we'll have
maintenance,
to have
that's the
we'll
old
have
gym,
to
it's
have
the new
also
gym.
around
I
there.
don't even know how to get there except through the residential
Is
side.
that where it is?
You can come past the ECC
Gymnasium.
building,
Okay.
that road hooks up over there.
So Lori, are we saying next year, because we
How do you
need to
get to the
come in
ECC
and
building?
amend their budget for
Oh,
$174,000.
I normally go
new
to
revenues
Duncan Road
for
and then turn on.
The care stimulus.
Yeah.
But you're saying, do we
That
need
connects all the way over.
258,000 more to what you got? Or do we need
258
258
is
minus
total.
92 to get voted?
Well, now, how do y'all handle it, but you, we need
Well,
to,
I'm talking about minus what
The
you
net
got
number.
this year.
Yeah.
What's the net for next year that's left?
oh, you mean on our budget?
No, what I'm saying is you've got $174,000 worth of what I'm reading here,
CARES. the
CARES money, so we're
stimulus
gonna put, if we put the revenue in, but you're saying none of this expenditures are in here. Out of the 258, how much of it did you guys manage to purchase in the current fiscal year? So what's the net that we need to put in the budget?
Well, right now, I've just got the purchase orders in.
Well, I'm saying, but how much will they for though?
I'm thinking around 50.
Yeah, that's what we.
That's just a guess.
So we're needing this is around 208 more of appropriations over here and 174 revenues, is what you're saying around about.
Well, now, I don't have anything that says 174 yet, you know, that I could give you in writing. This is what the state has told us. I've been on multiple conference calls. I'll be on one in the morning. That's what they've told us. But as far, you know how you get that grant paperwork and you put, I don't have that yet.
Hey, Leah, are we okay as far as notifications for budget and everything? Even though Lori doesn't have anything that initially says this is exactly what the revenue is, to put that in as
We
revenue?
can
Yeah,
estimate, as long as it's
We
reasonable.
can
we're all-
estimate, we're fine.
No, we can reasonably estimate anything. That's what,
Okay.
Yeah.
we probably need to go ahead and add the 174 revenue and whatever the appropriations. But I have another question for Lori. Are we getting the presidential preference money this year too?
I've already turned it in. It was 165,000. That's 100.
For the coming year?
Huh?
So we'll get it next year, next fiscal year.
They said 6 months, and we turned it in.
Last week.
Yeah, a week or 2 ago.
Right, but it's for the presidential, which is already passed.
Yeah, we have to wait, we expend the money,
Right,
then we submit our expenses.
so we've already, but when do you think we'll get
They
that?
said 6 months, and we just submitted it within the past.
So it
2
won't
weeks.
be deferred for last year, so we get it, so we can add 165 in the next year's budget, because don't get into this one at all. because-
6 months, so
Right, it'll have to go to next year.
we hope we get about this into this
And then
year.
we need to add the 178 and whatever's expended.
Well, then if we don't get the 165 until June of next year, we're still okay.
Well, the 165, you know, if it's within 6 months,
No,
as long,
they'll wanna do it this calendar year.
what I'm saying is as long as it's more than 60 days after the end of the fiscal year, the revenues will go into this year.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right, and as long as it's within the next 13 months, because you've already filed it, then we're good, and it's gonna be 6, so we're good to put that in.
And then I also wanna explain about this 174, the stimulus money, the way they worded it, the federal government, we have to spend it by December 31st. If we don't, we lose it. So,
Get through the election.
Right, so we're gonna spend every dime of it, it's our money.
Yeah.
So some of this stuff that we're buying, and if you look under other, one of the last thing is storage. Anthony said our storage is exhausted, is that correct? So we're gonna have all this stuff we're buying, you know, the plexiglass shields and all of those kinds of things, and unless we can find another place, we thought we'd just go right down the road here to the storage and get a large, we have to have a drive-up unit so that we can load and unload, but we're gonna have, you know, for all of this stuff.
And we're already using the archives conference.
And, yeah, we're just archives conference through November.
We don't have to go to the building to start that crap in?
Do we have room? Hey, do we can put the room in our?
She's having
Wow,
that,
did you
all the
build it?
people aren't being trained.
That one.
Temporary.
Is on your staff still mask on?
They're using a lot of it for
Those
storage.
19.
They're-
And then we'll move around the
they're-
budget in July.
My mom came in
Where?
that day.
Yeah.
I think we're good on this.
I'm getting
stuff.
some plans. She fixed 3 meals a day, she's lucky you got one out
Already got
there.
stored.
I think she wants one more
No, we
flyer
can't.
out there
Okay.
to
No,
go along
go.
with that.
There won't be
That's
any
what
places.
I'm saying, I think we're good on this part and how Debbie can put it in the budget so that we're.
Okay, yeah, have y'all make the numbers
Again.
work.
And that was the thing he was being.
I just think it's 208, right, that's left, around 208-ish.
Yeah.
And then you think it's about 208 left on this, did we spend?
One more thing.
Okay, and real briefly.
She said that she spent, or she had POs
She
for
said
about
50, so
50.
you think there's 208, no more than 208 left on
Oh, no, 208? No.
this? We think there's no more than 208 that
Unless-
need to be spent.
Unless they
Definitely.
go
Okay.
absentee for any reason, it will know on Thursday.
Well, and that, we get that changes everything.
And the state, now the judge that's hearing it is a Democrat, not that that matters. I'm just saying that if it's ruled that, then the state is going to appeal it. The thing about it is, we don't know how long it's gonna take the Tennessee State Supreme Court to hear it.
I'm not gonna say something.
I think they would take it up pretty quickly, but I mean, our clock is ticking. So we don't know, but I think they would take it up pretty much immediately.
Okay.
So, the last thing I wanted to mention real quickly, and I do not want to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to.
Lori, can I interrupt you real quick just before you get to that part?
Sure.
On Thursday, when they do figure out that, will you mind just emailing Chris and let him push that to us, or just email the budget committee?
Right.
Just so we can kind of be thinking that through?
Right, I mean, and
Thank
we
you.
don't know what time, the
Yeah.
hearing last week.
And even if
was
it's Friday, it's,
No, they said we'll know, because
Okay.
she committed, because everybody, you know, all these people kept explaining the urgency of the time.
okay,
I mean, that's what's critical for us, we can't sit around and wait.
Right.
We've got to make a plan, so we do have a plan, our plan is, we just use our regular precincts, COVID continues to decline, people are more comfortable going out. You know, Deborah Maggart has posted on Facebook repeatedly, if you can go to Walmart, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to Sam's, you can go down on Second Avenue and protest, you can surely get out and vote, you know.
thank you for letting us know that.
So, the last thing, just real quickly about the payroll issue, you know, we've been dealing with this for a long, long time.
We're doing a payroll thing for the entire county again.
Okay.
When we do it?
Well, I just want to mention and you can read this, but.
Oh, sorry, that's what I'm saying, would you like to be included in the read?
Yes, because 2 of our employees got nothing, and one of them called me ready to quit Friday night. And it took everything I could, and I told her that I would come in here today and talk to you guys, and it really wasn't about the money. She said, I just don't feel valued as an employee.
I have 3 employees that are paid less than they recommend to start paying us been here longer.
Yeah.
So that's why it all needs to be addressed
And
together.
that's just, what we'll do, Lori, is to take anything out of it, any impartiality, or
Right.
what could be perceived that way. When we do it, Mayor Holt's gonna go to all the elected officials and everybody, and we're gonna give them a couple options to let them select what.
Sooner than later.
Yeah, well, what group they wanna use to do it, because it's gonna be for everybody in the county.
Right.
So we're gonna try and have where you can compare starting salaries to starting salaries, not only for outside agencies, but inside ours, so that way we can actually have everybody kind of like compared to each other, compared to the outside peers.
Well, one thing that you have repeatedly said to me, and this body has repeatedly said to me, is we have to be concerned about what other employees think.
Oh,
So when 2 employees find out that
That's-
everybody in the office got a raise and they didn't,
it's devastating.
Well, that's what I'm offering to you,
And-
if you want to
and
do it again, we will.
Yeah, I don't care if it's, you know, she said, if it was $5, I just want to be acknowledged because, you know, I've learned this skill and I've learned that skill. And to get your paycheck when everybody else was like, oh, and we tell them, don't discuss your pay with other people.
But, yeah,
You know,
we will, Lord, we will gladly include
Okay.
you in the next one and redo that part again.
okay, and I mean, that's what I told her. I said, just hang with us.
If it-
When they do a salary.
And also let them know, let everybody know that as revenues changes throughout the year, you know, before we've always said, here's the budget, we're living with it. We've actually gonna change it as revenue projections change, models change. If we have an opportunity to add COLA during the year, we're going to.
Okay.
And that's an important emphasis for all the employees. Just-
Yeah, again, it wasn't so much the amount, it was just getting nothing. And you guys can imagine, any of you that have ever managed people, what that's like.
When you do a salary survey, if anybody's within market, if you do it countywide, if you're gonna give a raise to everybody, it's gonna be on board.
Yeah.
You're only
That's what
gonna
I
hit
was just
those-
fixing to
You're only gonna
say
hit the
is-
ones out of market, them two were in market fairly far.
Is that's a scary thing to set a precedent
Yeah,
because
you're
we're
gonna pay
doing the
everybody a raise
entire
just to get
county
money.
with
Right, but-
everybody in the departments. And if we say, you know, with the sheriff or with EMS or with your office or with Leah's office,
everybody's
that we're
in.
gonna bring everybody, even though it says they're in line, there's no way financially that we could
No.
afford that.
But the problem is, she's making the same way she was making an entry level now after having learned, cross-trained all these other
And
positions.
here's the thing, the only reason I'd say, Lori had some concerns about the quality of the study that was done.
Right.
And so that's why I would
Yeah.
say, in this instance,
I think
Yeah.
the group needs to achieve it, so.
Yeah.
I think put
Yeah,
the money
I
in the
agree.
budget.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, let them have the elected official association
That's a great
involved.
idea.
We do an RFQ, they get 4 or 5 in, and they choose the one they feel is the most comfortable with. Because everybody will be using it, and maybe about buying, and they'll fill out their questions. Lori was good about filling out her questionnaires. Did the lady do a good job? I think she did good, I can't say, it's not my expertise. Lori apparently wasn't happy with her, or,
Well, I called the HR departments of those counties that she said she couldn't reach, and they were clueless. I mean, I just think and I.
which is why we're gonna let you.
which I hate that, because we did a whole lot of
I called the
calling
AOEs.
her references, and she got a lot of good
I
references.
called the AOEs, they said, we'll be happy to participate. In Wilson County, we are very, very close to. And they never called them, and they're probably most similar to us than anybody.
I think she just called the HR, if that's what she's doing. But my thing is, I don't know for sure, but we did do a reference check on the lady, so I really hated if she didn't get all the data.
I'm not dogging her, but I'm just going by what I read the report, and it said,
No,
I
and
did
that-
not get the
And that's what I'm
data.
saying, Lori, if you're not happy
Yeah.
with it, then it makes sense to include you again.
But let me say this too, to that, what's gonna give us, I don't even know how to word this, but a little bit of breathing room when other departments and stuff get upset, because we've been trying to help Lori and them get something.
Yes.
We've been telling them for 3 to 4 years. We did that with EMS and got beat over the head and beat over the head, which we're getting beat over the head again. But we told them for 4 years where they were gonna get a raise, and then we finally got them to do the pay study. In jail, and then finally got that bump, and then now they want another bump. But my point of that is, when someone comes in and says, well, wait a minute, y'all may have 1 or 2 people in the election office that's got a bigger bump or a percentage, whatever the number is. We've been talking about this for 4 years, so anyways, we'll bring that up.
Salary survey is the only way to do it, otherwise you're going to have every department, because everybody thinks their employees does a good job, they're very valuable, at least they should be there. So they're all gonna be down here fighting for their employees, just like Lori. As I said, I have, and I know there's no money this year, but I have 3 employees making less than the starter salary. That was in my original request that we pulled back out because everybody said 0 budget. But I have 3 making below, that's been here a longer time than recommended for your lowest employee. So we're feeling the same pain, very hard to recruit people on those lower end, very hard to keep them. We've got good ones right now, but we've got the same issue.
And I've said this 100 times, I can't pull somebody off the street to run an election. They've got to be trained for a long, long time. An absentee, in 2016, 4 states were sued for billions of dollars because they didn't get their military ballots out on time. It's critical. And that's, so again, I can't just hire somebody. It's not a cashier's position where they can take, a receipt and a check. I mean, they have to know the law, and they have to know the procedures, they have to know the dates. I mean, it's just not, there's just a lot more to it. Not downing anybody in any department, but elections are very different, and each and every one of you's elected.
I can appreciate, real quick, what do we gotta do that how much are we over on this one?
There's a new employee so far, I think, and no new employees. And it's a 42 a year versus a 33, and then there's various other items, but as we're saying, Lori does have 2 elections next year.
Yeah. Hey, Lori, that's
So
what
we
we're,
probably need to look at this first and then talk about these other
Yeah.
items still back here.
what we did was, like, there's a couple people we know need help. Sunny needs help, you need help. And what we've done is we've kind of said, look, there's not any money right now to add anybody new. But when we look at doing COLA and things like that, we're also looking at a couple people to see if there is a way of trying to get you some help there. Okay. Even if it's part-time, full-time. So I know you need help, but realistically, we don't have any money for help right now. And that's what we kind of told everybody. There's two departments that we're gonna look at, trying to add somebody mid-year. You would obviously be one, especially before November. But for right now, we just don't have anything. As far as the other stuff, okay. Which one?
She had the employee just removed
Yeah, what'd you come up with?
Yeah, and that's the, what's the help me out, because I know you were asking for somebody new, but I also know we bring in different people for the presidential ones. So
They're part-time, they get no benefits.
right, and on the presidential one, I know we bring some in and they're only for that year, and then the next 3 years we don't. So this is one of those years, obviously, just help me differentiate what it is we usually do, and so that way we kind of, because what's gonna happen is, you're gonna be able to still have a part-time person because it's a presidential, and we've already told a couple other people, no, you're not getting anybody, so I need to be able to explain to them why you got somebody they didn't, when every 4-year cycle you get somebody anyway.
Right, so.
But it's not a permanent part-time, it's a seasonal part-time.
It's a seasonal, part-time, full-time. So because of Obamacare, they cannot average more than 29 hours a week.
Well, she walked right in and knew that number.
But that's what we're looking at, that's part of that, right?
Right, but if they only work in August and November, if you take the annual average, they don't get close to it. We have some part-time people in our office that work every single day, that we can only work the 29 hours every week, because if we hit that threshold, you guys have to pay benefits, whether we call them part-time or full-time.
Right.
So we are, and we are constantly battling that, and then if we hit that 240 for my employees, Department of Labor, then we have to pay them out. It's not an option.
Well, I guess that was my question. Did you include it on this sheet, or was it included in y'all's budget?
It was in the budget.
Okay.
She's got, the only thing she's got now, when she removed that big full-time, is part-time for the election workers and overtime.
So it's in addition to.
Which there should be probably overtime on
Right.
the election year, that makes.
Does that, are you following us?
No, sorry.
Which I think right now,
What we're doing is we're checking out this now. And David says he's got your part-time, which is for the presidential election. He's got your overtime, which is for the presidential election.
But you just took out my new person, and so she would have to convert back, she would have to be included back in part-time.
Okay.
Because she was included as a different person.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking. Is
So
this,
you need to put her back in, even if you don't make her full-time right now, she's gotta go back in under the part-time, otherwise we'll be her entire salary short.
and that's,
you
And she's gonna average more than 29 hours.
Right.
And we're gonna be in trouble because she's one of our major trainers. She trains the trainers, and that's who we were trying to get, and she was willing to come to work for us.
And
She's not a big deal.
She's
she
learning,
was part-time before, right?
She's
Yeah.
part-time right now.
and she's learning the next job, and she's learning my job.
Mhm.
So that, okay.
So that something major should happen.
So really what, we've got the part-time, but you're wanting to take somebody that's part-time right now and move them to full-time.
No, I'm saying you just took out my new full-time person, so she is not included in those part-time
she's on
dollars.
another $42,000 for
Yeah.
part-time money. Or not 42, because she can't work that many hours.
Yeah.
And for the salary.
That's why then it's irrelevant, we put her in as a salary.
So she's wanting $249,000 worth. So 37 part-time. Open up the appropriation.
So it's 49 for the part-timers down as salary.
She's asking for $207,260 for new part-time election workers. She was also asking for a $42,000 new position. She's saying if she don't get the new position, she needs more money in the part-time with that 64,552, she said she needs more money there.
And she will exceed the 29 and a half as
And
a
we'll be in
part-time
trouble.
person, and then we get in trouble.
So the person you're training, the person y'all talking about
She's
training
working
is either gonna be a new
Yeah, I
full-timer
mean, it's
or a
easy to
part-timer
get.
that's gonna
Oh,
work
yeah.
over
She
29.
doesn't have to get a
That's
part-time
correct.
person to work.
And she's been working part-time all the way through, or since the beginning of the year, through the March.
So basically, she's saying you have to do the full-time.
It'd be better for us to make her full-time,
It would be very beneficial.
and then she just rolls in the same category as everybody else, otherwise she comes under that 29 and a half.
I think probably.
With overtime, which is gonna push
Well, with
us.
the comp time, she
This
doesn't
right here,
get
no, this is
240, it
good.
just stays on her comp time, she gets up to 240,
She's
the
actually-
DOL is gonna make us pay her. But
One,
but don't we get fined, Leah, if we work the part-time person over 29 and a half?
It's just, they make you come back and give them insurance back at that time when it hits
So it's the
that
same difference.
point. Yeah, it's the same difference.
But what if they say no, because her husband has all that stuff, she doesn't need the benefits?
It doesn't matter, you have to
You still
offer
have
it.
to offer
You
it.
still have to
And she
offer
would
it.
say
so she's
no.
got,
I mean, if she
She would
goes
definitely
full-time,
say
we're
no.
gonna put TCRS on her, too.
No,
It's
and
another
the longevity.
11%,
How much?
another 11%.
11? She's gonna be here probably another 10 to 15 years, so we don't wanna lose her. She will be in a management position.
Well, and the other thing that you could, that makes this a service to the employee, you know, I have problems with my magistrates now because they were considered part-time for 10 years and they didn't get on the retirement plan until they became full-time. So this way you could at least put her on the retirement plan. That's an
help me out real
additional-
quick, Lori, just so I can understand. Every presidential election, they always hire one more part-time person for you.
Multiple part-time people.
Well, I mean,
Because of the 29 and a half, we can't just hire one person, we usually hire 4.
Get where we have.
And they split up that week.
Is that on the election workers line item? Is that the election workers? Because that's 207,000.
That's the poll workers.
Those are
And
poll.
early
Okay, that's
voting
like your
workers.
volunteer, your paid.
They're not volunteers, we
Yeah,
pay.
thank you. You're paid, sort of like volunteers.
Oh,
Got it.
paid-
Kinda like how we're
paid
paid.
all officials.
Yeah, similar. I get it.
Okay, then unhide, go ahead and unhide CD and E, what we think the history of that.
so I guess what I'm saying is, on top of what you normally hire for presidential, you're also wanting to move this one girl from part-time to full-time.
Right, because she's not gonna fall under, we can't work her, what we need to work her as a part-time person. Like, and it said she doesn't need the insurance while her husband has all that, but it's not, Obamacare, that's not an option to opt
But
out.
now that's a request moving her from part-time to full-time outside of the presidential election, because she'll
Yeah,
stay
she
full-time
stayed, she'll be here
from now on.
from now on.
So that's actually an improvement then.
Yes, absolutely.
So why is the election worker so much larger the next election than this one? Because back 16, 17, when we had the presidential election, there was $187,000 worth of election workers, and next year there's 342,350. Why is there so many additional election workers?
We have more early voting sites.
Right, we opened the two full-time early voting sites, Hendersonville and Gallatin,
So it doubles them?
and then we added another precinct.
Yes, it doubles them.
So you're saying you double the number of election workers by opening additional precincts and doing early voting, additional early voting?
We did the whole 2 weeks, 15 days in Hendersonville and in Gallatin.
So the additional precinct and the additional early voting that you guys are doing costs what it looks like.
Early voting is very expensive.
And then we have to have,
$300,000-$400,000 a year right now. It's one spot. Yeah, that's.
Right.
Does that go down at all if we're only doing one location for August? I
I'm
mean,
sorry?
With only doing one location for August?
Yeah, we
that
won't have
reduce
that
the
one,
number
but-
of.
yeah, that's
We'll
reduced.
reduce it some.
And when we did this,
Not a
keep
lot,
in mind, we
it's
had
not
no
Yeah.
clue.
Yeah.
So if you guys took the early voting back, so you're really saying if you went back for early voting and the number of districts that you used to have, it would really be $300,000 cheaper for you, that's with all the benefits.
Is it 342 in there?
342,000.
I can't see.
Yeah, that's
It's
election.
187,000 the last time. And election workers, they get a raise, so you're
Yeah.
talking, that's almost double.
You see what he's talking about?
That's double.
So that's
There it
your,
is. I can't see.
that's your
But it's not
budget.
counting from here
Yeah.
to here is almost double without any benefits, and that's not counting these other costs up through here. Other personnel, 201,000 to 55,000,
Well, there's one reason that this one over here would be much higher would be but I don't know if it's double, but it'd be presidential year.
This is.
Right.
That's a
Also,
presidential year too.
The
That
other
is
difference
presidential year.
is, the other difference is that we're required, we used to put monies in poll workers. So the other personnel, now all our trainers are in there, all our machine verifiers.
That
where
would
we
take the
used
other
to-
one down though, that doesn't, what you're saying, if you did that, would take, can you take these two lines right
And
here?
then- and
And
then
compare
the-
those to these two lines right here, not count the benefits? You're talking almost $500,000.
Well, the election workers, I think can come down because we have the August, we were gonna have all those locations and now we're down to one.
So
So
you're
we
good.
can lower it some. I can't tell you what the number is off the top of my head.
What I'm looking between 16, 17 to 2021, those lines alone are accounting for 350 plus thousand.
Why don't we do this, if
They're
everybody's,
increases.
if everybody's comfortable with this, you've got your part-time person you wanna make full-time to help with the election, so do that, include that.
To help all
Make
I thought you wanted her all the time.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying, make the part-time to full-time, and then,
I thought you were saying all.
Where's
That-
that, is she in that line?
no, that she's
I
not
don't
in
speak
that.
that budget up more.
And then we turn around and we take the numbers back to these, and if, because we know that we're gonna have less voting sites, and that's what they used to be, and if for some reason, as it comes near, we have to make a budget amendment, we can. But that way we knock those numbers from 201 and 342 to 55 and 187, but we make sure to give Lori the part-time girl that's learning.
To full-time.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that makes
33 or
so we still
42.
end up saving, what, because that's what, 30,000 more? For, how much was it?
42, yeah.
42 for,
Is
okay.
it 33 or 42?
42.
So it's 42, and then we turn around and that's what,
Yeah, you can take it out of that.
187?
If we go to one early voting location, that's gonna save you time.
change this one.
So that would
You
be,
can't go, Larry, you gotta go over to the actual payroll period.
Lori, while they're jockeying with this, help me understand again Thursday. So if the judge doesn't rule,
The judge heard the case on last Thursday. She said she is going to rule. They're gonna hear arguments
Okay.
tomorrow, and then she is gonna rule on Thursday.
and the ruler's gonna be one of the options here.
Leave everything
so if
alone.
we drop it
Yeah,
down.
you do everything normal,
They do it just like we're doing it
or
now.
you're gonna mail a ballot to everybody.
242,000.
You can vote absentee
Okay,
for
then
any
option one's
reason.
leave it alone, or option two is what?
Absentee for any reason, which means it's all good.
But
Who's
what I'm
not
saying is
60
that's
years
a-
old, who's not
from
sick,
last
I'm
year.
getting
who's not disabled, who's
He's
not
all-
all of that, just says, I wanna vote absentee. You still have to call my office,
That's a
email me or
decrease
fax
from last
me
year.
your information, I will send you an application.
Do you,
You sign
I'm just
it,
asking.
send it back, and I send you a
Well, and that's
ballot.
a decrease. from
Georgia
last
just
year,
mailed
this year.
everybody
Yeah.
applications, that's the difference.
So let me ask you a question, is that gonna be a state mandate? What I'm asking is, wouldn't it be a million times easier and a million times cheaper to say, we've created this website,
What about?
and you can call, but you go to this website, like everything you gotta do on the planet nowadays, and say, fill out this website to get an application.
Can you do your application online? Is that what you're asking?
You know, we have to have an original signature to compare to your signature on your voter registration.
What, yeah, I see what you're saying, but everything you do today, especially
Yeah.
since COVID, I mean, everything.
By the way.
There is some talk, you know how you can register online right now?
Yeah.
You can only do that if you have a Tennessee driver's license, and they have your signature on file, because they identify
Yeah.
you.
You can take that period down.
I was trying to keep y'all, how do you keep from getting
But one of
20,000 phone calls?
Right.
to make
Yeah, because that's what I
copies?
said. You're gonna have to hire another person just to answer phone calls and ballot applications.
And if
Probably
they'll-
more than one.
If they'll let us use the same system for OVR as they do for absentee for any reason, as long as the DMV's identified you and we have that signature on file, that's gonna be the simplest way.
Yeah.
And then we have a very minimal number of people that don't have Tennessee driver's license, or Tennessee identification, or passport, you know, something
It seems like
that.
if I was at the election commission, not only you, but the other 94 included, I'd be pushing my ass off for that. Because the state makes us do it, I just did read a gun permit online.
Yep.
Just sold a house to the contract, all now online.
But what she's saying is she don't have that signature to compare with voter fraud.
Well, no, but to get a gun permit and a driver's license, they do it.
Right, because they have identified that person in person.
Right.
Now, what they've done is you've got to have a previous one You can't have moved here from South Carolina and
That
say.
is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's only state of Tennessee, every state's sovereign and has their own system. and
We
they
did
don't
not
talk.
realize,
Which
Judge,
judge,
they'd be able to do it any different with that.
What was her
Because
name?
it's not even
Lyle?
mandated right now.
Yeah, but if you
Lyle.
I don't think there's very many,
Oh, yeah, I mean, most have been done, but now. we're
because
back to
everybody was
that
fixing to go do it, and then all this happened.
Let's go back and look at the appropriation sheet.
You've got 55,000
Still in.
part-time,
Yep,
or in other,
yeah. What we had.
Hey, hey, you can tell Holly on about it. Whatever y'all decide.
Trying to get out of your way,
That's
it's gonna be getting
2016.
anyway.
Go and look at the appropriation sheets at the time.
We used the 2016 numbers in that, which was the last presidential election. When we did have all the votes. early
Go over to
votes.
your appropriation sheet
So
now.
that's where we're getting those numbers from.
Lori, presidential election, are we doing Hendersonville and Gallatin too, early voting? Or we're doing all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
The only early, because all of a sudden we're gonna have.
No, that's what I'm
We're
saying.
gonna have an early vote
Worlds around their heads.
for August. And depending on what the posted, we may be able to open it back up, but then we're gonna go back to just what we did in March.
Which was Gallatin and Hendersonville.
And then we satellite all the others.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Are you still planning on satelliting everything? Okay.
Yeah, now not this election.
Right, yeah, I'm just talking presidential.
But long-term and presidential, unless COVID rears its head again,
Right,
and they
right.
say whatever, I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to, that's just my personal opinion
Yeah.
based on nothing. But, you know, people are starting to come out now.
Yeah,
And that's, normally that's.
50% wear masks, 50% don't.
yeah.
So people are over it. So I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, because see, I think the thing is, we're gonna be back in school at that point, and people are gonna be even less and less and less, because even just, if you just take just the school population, teachers, kids, those families,
Yeah,
I mean, that's 80% of the population of our county that's gonna be out and about.
I think it's gonna be fine,
Yeah.
or we're gonna have to complain if it's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now we
But I
need-
think
Right,
we'll be
right.
fine for November. I think everything will
Well,
be
we're
fine.
gonna do two things,
Okay.
add the revenue first.
Okay.
The presidential, does it come from the feds?
Yeah, because we have to pay.
Hey, Lori, the presidential preference, does it come from the feds?
No, it comes from the state of Tennessee, but it's ultimately money from the feds, but it
Hey, if
doesn't
you go
come
over there,
directly
don't
to
add
us.
in a presidential preference for 165 in the state and 178 for CARES. Did it originally come from the feds though?
Yes. it
Oh,
comes-
yeah, put it under feds, it comes
But
federal.
it comes, we get the check from the state of
But
Tennessee.
it'll be federal through state. because-
Yes.
Okay. So we need to add two federal revenues, and there probably is a presidential preference in an older year too. And then what they're telling us is we can pick up,
You want to just call it COVID?
well, 165 presidential election and 178 and 8,000 for CARES for election. CARES.
But now you all spent that money that we turned in for reimbursement. I mean, the county did spend that, so that's really not a revenue item.
Well, it'll be a
That's
revenue
revenue.
coming in the budget. It will for the budget, we'll get money back.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you did spend that, so.
And then we gotta add 208,878, let's just say. Gonna take exactly 50 out. We'll put it under miscellaneous cost CARES, and then you can come back in July and adjust it into the right, like adjust the line items. Because right now, it's gonna be very difficult to get the budget done by the 29th if we don't get all this stuff.
Yeah, done right now.
It's not gonna happen if we don't do it today, because we
Yeah.
publish it.
Are you following this one?
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
The only reason for the rush is we gotta publish 10 days and the meeting's on the 29th, so
I'm fine with it.
we're under the gun. We will get the 29th.
I hope you slept last week, David. You're not gonna sleep much this week.
And what's so difficult is we just don't know. I mean, we're just, you know, we're just operating off our best
165
guess.
presidential preference.
And that's tough when you're planning numbers.
Yes.
But you just don't know.
You just gotta do a reasonable conservative estimate.
Yeah.
Presidential preference, we know it's 165.
Yeah.
The CARES, we think, is 178.
No, it's 174, isn't it?
Yeah.
174.
The 174.
Those
Yeah, it's on the
presidential
second
committees
page.
decide where.
You're right, I reckon it's one.
I've been told that, but I have nothing in writing to give you.
But it won't be more than
I was
5 or
on
10
for
off.
when the debate.
No, that's what they told every county in the state, 50 cents for August for
And we do
voter.
have an email that shows that $1.50.
Yeah, but we don't have the option that.
Did you get both revenues back?
So I guarantee you, they plan on it being in North Carolina.
Let's go down, manage.
Maybe more. And,
Let's not put the very last one.
how would you get out of that
This is.
without some kind of major loss?
So, we'll vote on
I know Trump doesn't give a shit, he just makes actions.
Yeah, he'll just do it.
Y'all figure it out.
Whoever left to do it later.
it. Because we do need to.
but,
You don't wanna put the very bottom. Insert the line right here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it'd be great for now.
Insert the line right here too.
I don't, I mean, why would they go through this much trouble if they felt they could get?
Call it other charges.
I mean, that's a lot of crap to do if you know what I mean? Why-
What do you wanna call this, what, cares, or what? do you-
Cares.
Shock value.
It's called
What it
cares.
is.
They
Cares
cares
make it
cover.
work for mine.
Cares
Say
stimulus.
you're sorry.
That's good.
Doing it.
Zeros to everywhere to 2021. Input.
I guarantee in Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
208,878. And now go over here and hide C, D, and E.
Right in Georgia.
Some right.
And Chris, the reason I'm telling you that there may be more CARES money is because every single county is saying that's not enough.
Good.
It's not just us, every
Well,
county.
and just keep whining about it, Lori.
But everybody is. I mean, everybody's like, I said, this is half of what I need. They said, you know this is coming, but we think there's gonna be around.
Okay, good. No, that's even better. Well, and like I said, if we do get to do everything like we normally do, well, then it happens, you're out.
Okay, but I think there's gonna be more coming. That was just a start.
Nope, talk to him on the phone, so she's last.
Judge Hunter.
Yeah, no, Judge Hunter.
You still have several little departments to do. So if you wanna look at the summary here and go on through the rest of the little departments. Well, let's look at our total, make sure everybody's on the same page. What we did was we added in the 208,878 for the COVID charges. You added the $42,000 employee back. You made your part-time and your, election workers like 16, 17. You left the extra overtime because you know there has been inflation since the employees made more that she requested. And then you left all of our non-salary line items as requested, so.
Everybody in the room good?
And then go
You
over to
good
the summary
with that?
page and it'll show our total.
Next, you up to speed, buddy?
That's good.
Done.
That's
Good.
And we're gonna include your office on the salary
Yes.
study. Okay,
And
perfect.
this time you guys get to choose it, and I don't get the money. We
I'm
have,
not-
I had it everywhere.
There was no intent to blame, but when I read the report that says I omitted 5 major counties, I have a problem with that. I'm sorry.
But, yeah, do a new one, just do an RFQ.
You guys
Anybody,
everybody
yes,
good?
I saw you guys.
Take care of that hip.
Understand.
Did you open yours so we would leave?
No, no, that was.
Stephanie, that's me.